Thank you for having me on the PM desk, Karishni.
Good. It's another day of high drama at the Farlam Inquiry. How is the Commission digesting news of the murder today?
Well, Karishni, it certainly has been a very somber mood for the bulk of the day today. Some of the miners that have been attending the proceedings are still trying to digest the death of a comrade of theirs in arms, and it really has been extremely difficult. Now, you will remember that Bhayi's murder now becomes the 8th person who has been killed since 2012, and we've seen quite a number of AMCU and NUM shop stewards or chairpersons being gunned down by unknown assailants, and police to date really have been battling to get to grips with who exactly is it that has been behind these particular murders. Now, since 2012 and up until now, 8 deaths is really quite a high count, and you can see that it really is reflecting on the faces of the miners that are here. There is a lot of fear. You know, many of them do believe that they have targets on their back. So that certainly is very difficult for them, that one of their comrades in arms has died, and they are not even sure whether or not he died as an attempt of robbery or it was an assassination attempt, but tensions are certainly very high here.
Nazim Tombi, Lonman executive, that's Michael da Costa, was expected in the dock today. Did he appear, and what's the significance of that testimony at this point?
Well, you'll remember that Michael da Costa was the Vice President of Operations in 2012 at Lonman's Karee Mine. Now, his testimony is very critical because he was one of the executives or one of the management that had engaged with the rock drill operators early in 2012, around May, June, and he was dealing with them about their demands for the 12,500 rand, and he'd expressed that there was absolutely no way that Lonman could afford to pay that 12,500 rands because it was not within their budget, and if they were to pay that amount of money, they would end up losing business. So he also told the commission today that had they agreed to that 12,500, it certainly would have been a very difficult position for Lonman to be in. But he then revealed later that Lonman executives had given a memorandum, or really a moratorium, to express to some of the management that they should not engage further with the striking miners, especially considering that their strike was an illegal and unprotected strike. So it certainly put him in a very difficult position because he seemed to be willing to negotiate with the rock drill operators, but he was given a mandate that he should not be negotiating with people who had not gone through the correct legal channels.
Nazim Tombi, the credibility of Mr. X, the police witness in question, and of course his state of mind. Now, we know he was dismissed yesterday when he complained of a stomach upset, and we also know that advocate Nsabeza, well, she grabbed the bull by the horns last week, asking if he had been offered anything in exchange for his testimony, and if he is indeed tailoring his case to match the police version. One wonders if he's doing more damage to the police case than helping it. How is he holding up?
Well, Mr. X certainly has been feeling unwell yesterday. Now, his tummy ache that came out of the blue, one never knows whether that was because of the nerves he felt or because of the anxiety he's been feeling. He certainly must be going through some sort of mental state at the moment, considering that he has been on the stand for the bulk of about the past month. So this certainly has been playing on his mind, and the fact that he's recounting his version of events, recounting the murders, recounting the deaths, certainly is a very difficult thing for Mr. X to be in. But in terms of his mental state, you'll remember before Mr. X gave any testimony, Darlene Pofu made the application for Mr. X to be declared mentally incompetent. But Ian Farlam, who is the presiding judge here, then turned around and said that at the moment they are very satisfied with Mr. X's responses and with the way Mr. X has conducted himself so far. I don't know whether or not that was preemptive of the judge to say that he's quite happy with Mr. X's mental case, and it certainly he hasn't reflected very well on the SAPS's case. And it will be very interesting to see when the SAPS re-examine, are they going to actually say we no longer want to put Mr. X's testimony on the plate, or whether or not they're going to continue and say, you know what, he's been great for our case and we appreciate exactly what it is that he has given.
Thank you, Nazim Tombi.
But thank you, Nazim Tombi. One person who was identified in his speech
Thank you, Nozim Tombi. I'm afraid we'll have to leave it there. We are out of time. That's our reporter, Nozim Tombi, Mia, tracking proceedings for us at the Farlam Commission of Inquiry. Moving on to other news, emotions boiled over during Rural Development and Land Reform Minister Gugile Nkuntini's budget vote in Parliament. Now, the EFF's Andila